The Arctic expedition wasn't supposed to change the fate of the galaxy. It was just another research mission for Ryder Kane, a geologist with more experience than ambition. But as the ancient saying goes, destiny finds those who aren't looking for it. Caney, get your gear and meet at the main tent. Sensors picked up something strange under the ice shelf. Doctor. Moreau's voice crackled through Ryder's radio, pulling him away from his core samples. On my way, Ryder replied, sighing as he packed up his equipment. At 34, with a decade of field experience, nothing excited him anymore. Frozen waste. Scorching deserts. Remote mountains. He'd seen it all, cataloged it all, filed it all away in neat reports that nobody read. The Arctic wind bit through his thermal gear as he trudged across the camp. The endless white landscape stretched in every direction, hiding secrets beneath layers of ice that had remained undisturbed for thousands of years. Until now. Inside the main tent, the research team huddled around a monitor displaying a 3D scan of what lay beneath them. It doesn't match any known geological formation, Doctor, Moreau said, pointing at an unnaturally symmetrical shape embedded deep in the ice, and the material composition. It's unlike anything in our database. Ryder leaned closer. How deep? About 300 meters. But here's the strange part, it's emitting a faint energy signature. Barely detectable, but definitely artificial. Could it be old military equipment? Cold War stuff? Ryder asked, though he already knew it wasn't. No human technology could survive intact under the ice for that long. Doctor, Moreau shook her head. We're organizing a drilling team, and I want you to lead it. Why me? Because you're the best we've got, even if you pretend not to care anymore. Ryder wanted to argue but couldn't. Beneath his practiced indifference, curiosity stirred a feeling he thought he'd lost years ago. The drilling took 3 days. 3 days of fighting against nature's frozen fortress, descending meter by meter through ancient ice. When they finally reached the anomaly, Ryder was the first to enter the ice cave they'd created. His headlamp illuminated what should have been impossible, a structure of metal and crystal, perfectly preserved, showing no signs of corrosion or damage. It was roughly the size and shape of a sarcophagus, covered in symbols that resembled no known human language. What do you think? Asked Lynn, one of the younger researchers who had joined him. I think we should get more sensors down here before we touch anything, Ryder replied. But even as he spoke, he felt drawn toward the object. He approached cautiously, sweeping his light across the surface. The symbols seemed to shift slightly under his gaze, as if alive. Against his better judgment, Ryder reached out, his gloved fingertips barely brushing against the smooth surface. The reaction was immediate. Light erupted from within the structure, pulsing in rhythm like a heartbeat. The symbols blazed with blue fire, and the ice around them began to crackle and melt. Everyone out, Ryder shouted. But before he could move, the structure split open like a chrysalis, revealing its contents. Inside was what appeared to be armor not ancient by design, but impossibly advanced. It was sleek, almost organic in its contours, with the same symbols etched across its surface. Caney, get away from that thing! Lynn's voice seemed distant now. The armor rose from its casing, hovering in the air before Ryder. A voice filled his mind, not spoken but somehow understood, in a language both alien and familiar. 4 millennia we waited. The Aegis seeks its bearer. Ryder stumbled backward, but the armor followed, moving with purpose. Before he could escape, it unfolded, enveloping him in a fluid motion. He expected pain, crushing weight, but instead felt completion. Like finding a part of himself he never knew was missing. The apex Aegis sealed around him, a perfect fit. Knowledge flooded his consciousness, stars and worlds beyond imagination, ancient civilizations, terrible wars, and a threat that had once nearly consumed all life in the galaxy. Through the newly formed helmet, Ryder saw his colleagues staring in horror and awe. When he spoke, his voice resonated with power he didn't recognize. I'm okay, he said, though he wasn't sure if that was true anymore. But something much bigger than us just woke up. Across the galaxy, alarm systems long dormant flared to life. On worlds unknown to humanity, ancient sentinels stirred. In the dark places between stars, sleeping horrors sensed a change in the cosmic order. The Aegis had found a bearer. The final conflict could begin. The military arrived within hours. Ryder sat alone in a hastily erected containment tent, still wearing the armor that refused to detach from his body. Scientists and soldiers kept their distance, monitoring him through cameras and sensors that struggled to analyze the technology bonded to him. General Harris entered without escort, either very brave or very foolish. Mr. Caney, she said, taking a seat across from him. I'd like you to explain what happened. Ryder looked at his hands, now covered in articulated plates that moved like a second skin. I'm not sure I can. The armor. It communicates with me, but not in words exactly. More like impressions, images, knowledge I couldn't possibly have. And what is this knowledge telling you? That we're in danger. This armor, the Apex Aegis, was created by beings called the Primordials to fight something called the Entropic Horde. That I'm the first human it's chosen. General Harris's expression remained neutral. And why you? I don't know, Ryder admitted. It keeps referring to compatibility and resonance patterns. Apparently humans have something special, something the Primordials recognized. Can you remove it? Ryder shook his head. It says it will detach when the threat is eliminated or when I die. The general leaned forward. Mr. Caney, since your awakening, we've detected unusual activity in orbit. Multiple objects approaching Earth at impossible speeds, utilizing propulsion systems beyond our understanding. If what you're saying is true, we need to know what we're facing and how to fight it. Ryder closed his eyes, letting the armor's knowledge flow through him. They're scouts for the Entropic Horde. The main force is still dormant, scattered across the galaxy. These are just fragments, sensors, designed to locate and eliminate the Aegis bearer before the real threat can mobilize. And how do we stop them? We don't, Ryder said, standing up. The armor shifted with him, enhancing his movements. I do. They moved Ryder to a military base in northern Alaska, away from population centers. Scientists worked around the clock to understand the armor's capabilities while military strategists prepared for potential extraterrestrial contact. But they were too slow. 3 days after the armor awakened, the first scout arrived. Ryder felt it before the sensors detected anything wrong in the air, a disruption in patterns he hadn't known he could perceive until the armor showed him. Something's coming, he said, interrupting a briefing. From the northwest high atmosphere, General Harris didn't question him, immediately ordering radar confirmation. Seconds later, alarms blared. Unidentified object descending rapidly. No heat signature, no radio emissions. Ryder moved toward the exit. I need to see it. That's not the plan, Harris objected. There is no plan for this, Ryder replied, the armor enhancing his speed as he ran outside. The sky darkened as something blocked the sun, a twisting, shifting shape that defied proper description. Not a craft as much as an entity, composed of material that seemed to bend light around it. It descended toward the base with purpose. Soldiers scrambled to defensive positions, weapons aimed skyward, though Ryder knew conventional arms would be useless. The armor spoke to him again. The herald seeks confirmation. It must not return to awaken the others. Ryder felt knowledge unlocking within him how to access the armor's defensive systems, how to channel its energy. He raised his hand instinctively, and a pulse of blue energy erupted from his palm, striking the descending entity. The herald screeched a sound that existed both in air and in mind as it crashed to the ground before him. Up close, it resembled an insect made of shifting darkness, multiple limbs twitching as it assessed its opponent. Human, it communicated directly into Ryder's mind. Impossible. The Primordials chose. Humans? Apparently so, Ryder replied, feeling the armor's power building within him. The Horde will awaken. Your world will be the first consumed. The cycle continues. The herald launched itself at Ryder with impossible speed, but the armor reacted faster than human reflexes could allow. Ryder found himself moving in perfect counterpoint, dodging the attack and striking back with strength beyond his natural capacity. The fight was brief but violent. The herald's attacks left deep gouges in the frozen ground, while each blow from Ryder released pulses of energy that disrupted the entity's form. Finally, with knowledge he didn't know he possessed, Ryder channeled the armor's full power into a concentrated blast that reduced the herald to particles. As the dust settled, Ryder turned to face the astonished military personnel. That was just a messenger, he said grimly. And I'm afraid it got its confirmation before I destroyed it. Within days, reports came in from around the world: strange phenomena, unexplained energy signatures, technology malfunctioning in specific patterns. The Horde was awakening, its dormant cells activating after 4,000 years of hibernation. Ryder spent his time between missions absorbing the armor's knowledge, learning about the ancient war that had nearly ended all life in the galaxy. The Primordials, an advanced race that had seeded life throughout the stars, created the Apex Aegis as their final defense against the Entropic Horde beings from beyond the galaxy that fed on energy, gradually reducing ordered systems to chaos. The primordials had managed to scatter and contain the horde, but at the cost of their own civilization. Before vanishing, they had left behind the Aegis, programmed to seek out a compatible species when the horde inevitably returned. For reasons Ryder still didn't fully understand, humans possess the necessary compatibility. Why didn't the armor wake up earlier? Dr. Moreau asked during one of their debriefing sessions. She had been brought to the base as one of the few people Ryder trusted. It was waiting, Ryder explained, monitoring evolution across multiple worlds. The primordials seeded life on thousands of planets, hoping one species would develop the right characteristics. According to the armor's records, it's been active but dormant, occasionally checking for compatibility with emerging intelligent species. And humans passed the test? What made us special? Ryder smiled wryly. Apparently our stubborn unpredictability. Most advanced species develop along predictable paths. Their decisions can be calculated, their reactions anticipated. The horde exploits those patterns. But humans, we're chaos factors. We make irrational choices. We survive when logic says we shouldn't. We create when destruction would be easier. So our greatest strength is our capacity for random stupidity? Dr. Moreau laughed. More or less. The armor needed a bearer whose actions couldn't be predicted by the horde's calculations. General Harris, who had been silently listening, finally spoke. That's why only humans can wear it. It's not about biology, it's about psychology. Exactly, Ryder confirmed. And now we have to use that unpredictability to our advantage. Over the next few weeks, Ryder faced increasing numbers of horde entities. Each encounter taught him more about the armor's capabilities and about his enemy's weaknesses. The horde operated like a hive mind, but could be disrupted by unpredictable tactics, exactly what the armor had been designed to amplify in its bearer. Governments worldwide struggled to maintain order as strange phenomena multiplied. The public wasn't told the full truth, but rumors spread. Satellite imagery of Ryder battling horde scouts leaked online, giving birth to theories ranging from alien invasion to divine intervention. After a particularly difficult battle in the Siberian wilderness, Ryder returned to base severely drained. The armor had protected him from physical harm, but the mental strain of channeling its power was taking a toll. You can't keep doing this alone, Doctor, Moreau said as she checked his vital signs. The armor is burning through your energy reserves. Human physiology wasn't designed for this kind of power output. I don't have a choice, Ryder replied weakly. The armor only works for one bearer at a time. Then we need to find a way to support you. Enhance your natural abilities so you can channel the armor's power more efficiently. General Harris, who had become Ryder's unlikely ally, entered the medical bay. We might have something. The scientists have been analyzing the energy signature of the armor. They think they can create devices that amplify its effects, allowing you to fight more efficiently. Will it be enough? Ryder asked. The scouts are getting stronger, and according to the armor's knowledge, we haven't even faced true horde warriors yet. Harris's expression hardened. It has to be enough, because right now you're our only hope. The coming of the true horde began with strange lights in the sky worldwide. Aurora-like phenomena appeared even at the equator, shifting and pulsing with unnatural colors. Electronic systems fluctuated, and migratory animals changed direction en masse, as if fleeing from something only they could sense. Ryder stood on the roof of the command center, the armor feeding him information as it scanned the heavens. They approach. The vanguard comes first, then the harvesters, finally the overseer. This is their pattern. How much time do we have? Ryder asked aloud. Hours until the vanguard arrives. Days before the main forces fully awaken. General Harris joined him on the roof. Our satellites are tracking multiple objects entering the solar system, moving faster than should be possible. The vanguard, Ryder confirmed. The first wave. They'll establish beachheads, create anchor points for the main horde to follow. How do we stop them? Ryder turned to her, the armor's helmet retracting to show his face thinner now, with eyes that had seen too much in too short a time. We take the fight to them. The armor can allow me to operate in space, at least briefly. If I can destroy the vanguard before they establish their anchors, we might buy enough time to prepare for the main force. That's suicide, Harris protested. Probably, Ryder admitted, but it's our best option. Have your team finish those amplifier devices. I'll need every advantage I can get. The launch facility hastily prepared for Ryder's mission buzzed with activity. Scientists made final adjustments to the experimental amplifiers devices designed to work with the Aegis's energy patterns, creating fields that would disrupt the horde's communication and power. Dr. Moreau supervised the installation of these devices onto Ryder's armor. which was adapted to integrate them into its systems. The armor says these will work, Ryder told her. It's impressed with how quickly we adapted the technology. Human unpredictability at its finest, she replied with a forced smile. Ryder, are you sure about this? The armor's knowledge is ancient. Things might have changed. It's constantly updating its tactical systems based on our encounters, he assured her. And besides, what choice do we have? Before she could answer, alarms blared throughout the facility. General Harris rushed into the preparation area, her face grim. They're here earlier than expected. Multiple contacts entering Earth's atmosphere. Worldwide reports of landings. Ryder's helmet sealed around his face once more. Where's the nearest contact? 50 miles north. Some kind of structure is forming in the wilderness. An anchor point, Ryder said. The armor feeding him images of what such a structure would do, creating a stable pathway for the main horde forces to follow. I need to go now. The amplifiers aren't fully calibrated, Doctor, Moreau objected. No time, Ryder replied, already moving toward the exit. I'll have to make do. The armor enhanced Ryder's speed beyond human limits, propelling him across the snowy landscape toward the horde's landing site. As he approached, the environment changed. Vegetation withered. Animals fled, and the air itself seemed to vibrate with wrongness. The anchor point emerged from the disturbed earth like a twisted tower of shifting metal and energy, pulsing as it reached toward the sky. Around it moved figures that resembled the herald but larger, more substantial the vanguard warriors, preparing the way for their masters. Ryder didn't hesitate. He activated the amplifiers, feeling the armor's power surge to new levels. The first vanguard warrior noticed him too late, disintegrating under a blast of concentrated energy. The others turned, their forms shifting into combat configurations, limbs extending into weapons, bodies hardening into armor. They communicated without sound, coordinating their attack with perfect precision. But precision was predictable, and predictability was what the Aegis was designed to counter. Ryder moved with controlled chaos, never following patterns, never taking the expected path. The armor enhanced his natural, human unpredictability, making his movements impossible for the hive-minded vanguard to anticipate. One by one, he destroyed the warriors, each victory feeding data back to the armor, improving its tactical systems. But for every vanguard he eliminated, the anchor point grew stronger, pulling more energy from some unseen dimension. Ryder focused his attacks on the structure itself, but his energy blasts seemed to be absorbed rather than causing damage. He needed a different approach. The armor spoke to him. The amplifiers. Reconfigure them to create resonance with the anchor's frequency. Disrupt rather than destroy. Ryder mentally commanded the devices to adjust, feeling them change against his skin. The next blast he released wasn't concentrated destruction, but rather a wave of contradictory energy that caused the anchor to shudder and warp. He pressed the advantage, moving closer, channeling more power through the reconfigured amplifiers. The structure began to collapse in on itself, its energy turning inward. The remaining vanguard warriors rushed to stabilize their creation, but it was too late. With a final surge of power, Ryder triggered a cascade failure. The anchor point imploded, creating a vacuum that pulled the vanguard warriors with it before collapsing completely. Ryder stood alone in a circle of dead earth, the armor feeding him information from around the world. Similar structures were forming on every continent. He had won this battle, but the war was just beginning. Over the next 3 days, Ryder fought continuously, moving from one hotspot to another as the vanguard established anchor points worldwide. Sometimes military forces managed to hold the horde at bay long enough for him to arrive. But increasingly, he found only devastation areas where all life had been reduced to base particles, energy harvested to feed the growing invasion force. After destroying the 12th anchor point, Ryder finally collapsed from exhaustion. The armor had sustained him beyond normal human limits, but even it couldn't overcome basic biology forever. They brought him back to base barely conscious. He needs rest, Doctor. Moreau insisted as military leaders demanded his immediate return to action. The armor's keeping him alive, but his body is shutting down. We don't have time, General Harris countered. Reports are coming in faster than we can process them. The Vanguard has established over 30 anchor points we know about, and probably more we haven't detected yet. The main horde force will arrive within hours. Doctor, Moreau blocked the door to Ryder's recovery room. If you send him out again without rest, he'll die. And then what will you do? The impasse was broken by Ryder himself, who appeared in the doorway, leaning heavily against the frame. The armor had partially retracted, showing his haggard face. The doctor's right, he said weakly. I can't keep fighting like this, but we don't have a choice. He turned to Dr. Moreau. The armor's been communicating more clearly as our bond strengthens. It's shown me something, a way to end this permanently, not just delay the inevitable. What are you talking about? Harris demanded. The primordials didn't just create the armor to fight the Horde. They created it to eliminate the source of the Overseer. It's a singular entity that controls the entire Horde. Destroy it, and the rest will collapse. And how exactly do you plan to do that? Dr. Moreau asked. You can barely stand. Ryder smiled grimly. The armor can sustain me for one more major effort. But I'll need to go to the source out there, beyond Earth's atmosphere. The Overseer won't risk itself by coming to the planet's surface. General Harris shook her head. We don't have spacecraft capable of intercepting something in high orbit, let alone supporting combat operations. You don't need to get me there, Ryder replied. The armor can. It's been conserving energy for exactly this purpose. But I need one more thing from your scientists, a way to channel all the amplifier's power into a single, massive discharge. A suicide mission, Dr. Moreau said flatly. Ryder didn't deny it. The armor always knew this was the likely outcome. It's why it chose someone like me. Someone with nothing left to lose. The room fell silent as his words sank in. Finally, General Harris spoke. How long will the modifications take? A few hours. But we need to hurry. The Overseer is already approaching Earth. As scientists worked frantically to modify the amplifiers, Ryder stood alone on the base's landing pad, looking up at the night sky. The stars were obscured by unnatural aurora effects, the Horde's energy disrupting Earth's magnetic field. Dr. Moreau found him there, bringing a tablet with the final calculations. The modifications are ready. Once activated, you'll have about 3 minutes before the energy overload destroys both the amplifiers and... She couldn't finish the sentence. And me, Ryder completed for her. I know. The armor's been preparing me for this outcome. There has to be another way, she insisted. The armor chose you for a reason. It must have been planned for your survival. Ryder shook his head. It chose me because I was compatible and because I had the right psychological profile, someone willing to sacrifice everything. He looked back at the disturbed sky. Before the armor, I was just going through the motions. No family, few friends, moving from one expedition to another because I didn't know what else to do with myself. Now, at least my life will have meant something. Dr. Moreau wanted to argue further, but alarms blared across the base. The final approach had begun. General Harris rushed onto the landing pad. Multiple contacts, massive energy signatures. They're positioning themselves in orbit. Ryder's helmet sealed around his head for what he knew would be the last time. It's time. Once I'm gone, distribute the data the armor has collected. If I fail, it might help you find another way. Before anyone could respond, the armor activated its full propulsion system, a capability it had reserved for this moment. Energy erupted from Ryder's back and feet, launching him skyward with tremendous force. Earth fell away beneath him at impossible speed, the armor creating a protective field that allowed him to survive the acceleration and the vacuum of space. Within minutes, he had left the atmosphere behind, hurtling toward the gathering Horde forces, and there he reached the center of the formation. Ryder saw the Overseer, a massive entity like a dark star, pulsing with negative energy, surrounded by countless Horde vessels and beings. It sensed his approach, turning its attention toward the lone human in ancient armor racing toward it. Impossible, its voice resonated in Ryder's mind, vast and cold. The primordials are gone. Their weapons should not have found a bearer. You underestimated humanity, Ryder replied, pushing the armor to its limits as he dodged attacks from Horde defenders. Just like you underestimated the primordials. Your species is young, unproven. This resistance is futile. Your world will feed our advance, as countless worlds before it. Maybe, Ryder acknowledged, still advancing despite the increasing barrage. But humans have a talent for beating the odds. He activated the modified amplifiers, feeling the overwhelming surge of power. The armor channeled it perfectly, building toward the final discharge. Horde warriors converged on him from all directions, but the armor's defenses held just long enough to bring him within range of the Overseer. You will fail, the entity projected, its form shifting to generate a massive energy shield. Ryder smiled inside his helmet. That's the difference between us and you. You calculate. We hope. With his final strength, Ryder released the combined power of the armor and amplifiers, not in a direct attack that the Overseer could defend against, but in a dispersed pattern that the armor had calculated based on its accumulated knowledge of Horde weaknesses. The energy expanded in fractal patterns, exploiting quantum uncertainties that the perfectly logical Horde could not predict. It bypassed the Overseer's shields, striking directly at the entity's core. The Overseer's scream echoed across space and directly into Ryder's mind as the chain reaction began. The amplifiers overloaded, their destructive energy combining with the armor's final defense mechanism, a purging wave designed to eliminate all traces of Horde energy. Ryder's last thought was not of fear or regret, but of satisfaction. As the light engulfed him, he felt the armor's acknowledgement, a sense of completion, of a purpose fulfilled. Across Earth, people witnessed a new star briefly ignite in the daytime sky before fading. The unnatural auroras disappeared. Horde structures collapsed worldwide, their energy dissipating harmlessly. At the military base, Dr. Moreau and General Harris watched the satellite feed of the explosion until it overwhelmed the sensors. When the screens cleared, there was no trace of the Horde fleet or of Ryder Kane. "Did we win?" one of the technicians asked in the silence that followed. General Harris checked the incoming reports. Anchor points collapsing worldwide. Horde entities disintegrating or retreating. All readings of the anomalous energy are fading. She looked up at the others. "Yes, I think we won." Doctor. Moreau stared at the final image captured before the satellites had been overloaded. A human figure surrounded by light, standing against the darkness. "He knew," she said quietly. "From the moment the armor chose him, he knew this would be the outcome." "Then why accept it?" Harris asked. "Because that's what humans do," Moreau replied. "We face impossible odds. We make irrational choices. We sacrifice everything on the chance that we might save others." She smiled sadly. "It's what made us compatible with the armor in the first place." As dawn broke over the Arctic base, humanity began to realize that the world had been saved by one ordinary man who had made an extraordinary choice, a chaos factor in the cosmic equation that had changed everything. And somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, the echoes of the Apex Aegis's final message spread across the galaxy. The Horde is defeated. The cycle is broken. Humanity has proven worthy. The last defense had become the first victory.